Recording. Music. Hello everybody and welcome to Barovia. On tonight's exciting adventure, 4 not so heroic figures are stolen by a magical darkness. All 4 of our victims tonight were simply living their lives until they received a letter. Each of them, individually, in their own worlds, received this letter. Hail, traveler, thy life of valor and depravity has caught my attention. Your deeds have been exceedingly interesting for me to watch, and I wish for you to perform more of them. As such, I am extending a formal invitation for you. Please, come to Barovia. Experience our hospitality and fill our lives with interesting times. If you accept my invitation, simply pronounce it so, and you will be brought to this simple little valley. Your bonds will be broken, your debts paid, allowing you to come without anything tying you to your former homes. Shake things up, as they say. Your host, Strahd von Zarovich. If I'd done that a little quicker, it could have gone with the music. Anyway.
Liked it.
Well,
I do it did hit with the music pretty well. I liked that. Anyway, we are now playing Curse of Strahd for the first time. For, well, me. And only me. We're having fun.
Well, I mean, it's my first time playing. I'm well aware of it, but I'm interested in interpretations.
And interpretations are what we're getting.
I only did the first part. The campaign died pretty much after the first little.
That's all. Pretty much all of us are playing for the actual first time.
Yeah, I'm going in mostly blind.
The 4 of you are in a tavern. God damn it. Is it gonna loop?
Yeah, it is. I can hear it. It's touring. Sorry, we're using a new music bot because the music bot. Oh,
I'm not hearing anything.
yeah. It's not saying anything.
Yeah, it's quiet.
Did you turn off the loop? Oh, there it goes.
Yeah, no, it's a new... I didn't turn it off, but apparently it needs to be turned on every time. Anyway.
Oof. Okay. New bot.
New bot who did?
New bot woes.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out eventually. I miss rhythm.
I miss rhythm too.
Yeah. Anyway. The 4 of you are sitting in a tavern. You've all sat down as you have all arrived recently. Music? Hello? Hello? Hello?
We're all just kind of in a tavern.
Okay,
Music's
sorry.
on. Music's on.
Yeah, my voice disconnected. Anyway. You are all in a tavern, for you have all recently arrived. You're all sitting at a table. The table is old. Hard, thick wood. And it looks like it's been worn by hundreds of hands that have traveled across its grains over the years. If you look closely, you can see the carved names and initials of some of the most recent patrons However, the closer you look, the more you realize those scars run deep. There are hundreds of names. You have all arrived in a carriage that have brought you through a mysterious mist. And you were all dropped off at this tavern and told to wait inside. The four of you have sat together, whether by coincidence or by fate. You are now bound. The serving maid walks over and sets down 4 large glasses of a pale alcohol. She simply nods at you and quietly walks away. Would everybody like to introduce themselves?
I think Biddy should introduce first.
Oh, you know I hate going first.
I can
I
go
know,
first.
You're the most normal out of all of us.
Yeah, it would be a good appetizer.
In more ways than one.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Okay, so sitting at the table is a fairly tall. She's like 6'3". Half orc. She's wearing simple farmer's clothes. On her back, she has a quite large warhammer. And I don't really know what else to say. She's very normal. She's just a simple farm girl.
Olivia, when you are handed the drink, you get a sense of deja vu. And the waitress seems to look at you with a slight hint of curiosity.
I'm just gonna look at her confused. Like, thanks? Thank you?
She nods. You're welcome. Welcome.
Okay, bye.
She nods and walks away.
I can go next.
Go ahead.
Any objections? No? Sitting next to the half-orc is a very small, about 5'4", so kind of average-ish. Kenku, with her body shimmered with these black feathers, except for a very dark blue as it gets further and further towards the head. She pecks at the cup a bit, or taking a small sip. And when she finishes her sip, she pulls out a small little mouse and sets it on the table, petting it. Gives off a cute little chirp. She then looks at the half-orc and waves hello.
Hello. Howdy.
Howdy.
I always forget that Kenku do that.
Can I go next?
Go ahead.
I'm going to look at the goo with curiosity and confusion.
Spoilers. But sitting on probably a couple sizable books looks like, at first glance, a goblin that's just red, but closer inspection, her body seems to be somewhat shining, a little bit see-through. Uh, Looking at her closer, she looks less goblinoid and more like a slime in the shape of a goblin. About 3 feet tall, sitting on a stack of books to be able to reach the table. And she is in. She seems to have slipped into some clothing to some leather armor. What she has on her is like various. It smells like stuff she just picked up off the ground, and is carrying like a stick that's bigger than she is on her back. She is trying to reach for her stein that was placed down, and she just opens her mouth to completely encompass the stein and drink everything in it.
That's new.
No.
Uh,
Oh, I'm sorry. Did y'all want some?
no, I've got my own, thanks. And I'll take a sip of my
What?
shitty
My own.
beer.
She burps out the empty stein.
The Kenku just like looks quizzically at the slime goblin before sipping from her stein again.
Yes.
Well, I think that leads into a good opportunity for the final player to introduce themselves.
Like you just see like a nice like elderly like a woman like sitting there instead of like an elderly
burying
humanoid.
the You're really
Very
burying the
lead.
lead there.
Yeah.
An elderly woman who happens to be a turtle.
Yeah. Well, elderly woman, she could be an elf. We don't know.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure an elderly elf would be about like 300 years old.
No,
Oh, no,
elderly
that's
elves
young.
are like
700 to 800. They need heart medicine. You
yeah.
can't afford the 2 silver haggling.
Elves grow old really, really quickly once they hit that age, but up until like their middle
It's like
years are
Saiyans.
like the middle-aged elves only last like 100 years. And then
They're
they
like
grow really old.
Saiyans.
Yeah, it's like they look peak fitness for like a while, and then like 700 rolls along and they instantly look old.
Yeah.
Like the stereotypical Asian mom.
They just go old. They
Yeah.
wake up old in the morning and they're like, "Oh, my bones. I'm gonna have to go to the local pharmacy and
be
get
fair,
some medication."
That happens when you're 30.
It's not
yeah.
easy being old.
I'm just trying to enjoy the atmosphere, even though I'm kind of a bit perturbed by my relocation.
Uh,
The Kenku just looks at the fourth and goes, "Howdy, howdy."
Howdy.
howdy.
So, now that we've all awkwardly stared at each other for a while, how about we get some introductions underway?
Wait.
I guess so. I'll make the first one. Pardon me.
No.
I can-
Myself.
We cannot hear you.
Yeah.
Alright.
Especially with that
Alright,
person in the
I'll just-
background.
Sorry.
All right.
Man, Gummel, you really need to get like a room of your own.
Even a closet, like just sit in a closet with your laptop.
Yeah, the clothes are actually really good for blocking sound. Makes your mic a lot more clear.
Well, I'm Deoxy. Nice to meet you.
I'm Olive.
Alright.
Pleasure.
The kangaroo just makes the sound of a little jingle bell.
All right. So, my name's Olivia.
Alright.
Olivia Johnson.
Lady Johnson.
Yes,
All
that's
right.
my name. Okay, so we got Deoxy, Olive, Olivia, and
Dingle?
Belle.
Jingly? Ding?
She shakes her head and just makes various different, like a church bell.
Belle.
She nods.
I whisper to Olivia, and I'm like, what's a bell?
A bell is a small metal dome with a thing inside of it that makes that you shake it and it
Oh,
makes a ding noise.
like the things that the goblins back home wore on their head
Uh,
sometimes.
I'm not too familiar with goblins, but I guess.
Yeah, they wore they had metal domes, and inside it was their heads, and they'd end up getting shaken by some of the bears that were running around.
Well, if it made a loud ding noise when it hit them, then yes, that could be a bell.
All right.
Boy.
Do you think this place has food?
Well, it's an inn. I assume it has some food. Uh, ma'am,
Yes.
do y'all have any, y'all have any fiddles? Vittles? Food?
We do have a few things. Is that what you would like?
I'm a bit peckish myself, I'd say.
Yeah. I'm a multicellular organism who consumes like every other multicellular organism. And yes, I would. I like to digest it in my intricate organ system.
Getting a little too specific there, miss.
What? No. What? No.
Alright, would you like the meat or the stew?
Does the stew have meat in it?
Meat.
I'd like the meat.
I'll take a stew.
Okay.
Love a good soup. And Turtle here will have some stew as well.
Okay. She walks away. She walks into the back and you hear a rustling and loud banging pot noises. Eventually she comes back out. And she has all of your food on a platter. There are 2 bowls which she sets in front of Olive and Olivia. The bowls are filled with a soup that is a pale, kind of whitish color that appears to have large leaves of cabbage inside of it. Large cabbage leaves, and you see something brown and square. On the other hand, there is the meat, which is brought out. They are just very large slabs of meat. That'll be 5 coppers for the meat, 2 coppers for the stew.
Oh,
I
Let me
whisper
just-
to Olivia, "What's copper?
it's money.
What's money?"
It's exchanged for goods and services.
Oh,
I don't have any change on me at the moment. What I'll do is, I'll pay for the table. Here's a gold.
She stares at it in mild shock. What?
Sorry, I don't have any change on me at the moment. This is all I got on me.
Shiny.
She takes it and bites it. Huh.
I can assure you it's real.
Huh. Alright. Thank you kindly.
You can keep the change. Take it as a tip.
Right. She walks away in like a hurried rush, gathering her skirts in her hands.
Belle works on cutting her meat down to smaller pieces, eating some, handing a few to her pet mouse, and shoving the rest into her pockets.
When you
Oh,
when you eat the meat, you do taste it is a oddly gamey meat. Doesn't taste quite like anything that you've eaten. Though I'm not sure Deoxy would notice.
yeah, no, Deoxy just puts it in, like, grabs her chunk of meat, puts it in her mouth whole, just like she did with the stein, and you can see it, like, going through her, just resting in, like, her head, like, essentially where her brain would be, just floating in her cytoplasm.
I'll have a spoonful of my stew.
You finally find out what the mysterious brown cubes are. It's potato.
Well, then mash them, stick them in a stew.
The stew is potato and cabbage.
Well, it ain't much, but it's a hearty stew.
It's actually a little bit watery.
Just because the broth ain't hearty doesn't mean the things in there ain't gonna put some meat on your chest.
Meat on your chest.
I have plenty of meat on my chest.
Meat.
Because it's all full of meat and stuff.
Meat chest.
Yes to meat, yes. So, why are we here again? I got a letter.
Later.
I don't know what a letter is, but I got a piece of paper.
Did it have things on it?
I don't know. One of my friends ended up looking at it, and then I was here. I ate the letter, though. It wasn't good. If that was a letter.
Belle produces the letter.
Paper tends to not be quite very good, I'd say. Yeah, I got one like that too.
Yeah, I guess it looked like that.
Oh, come on, Discord. Let me turn crisp on. Hey, voice suppression. All right. Well, I guess we should head out of here once we're done eating.
In interest of showing Deoxy from a statement earlier, Belle produces a bell from her backpack. And she rings it and then makes the exact same ringing sound.
What's
Yeah.
it made of?
Just a standard bell, so I guess tin, maybe.
Is
Tin.
it shiny?
It's a little dingy. It is a very used bell.
Ah. Huh. Never seen anything
Ah.
like that.
That's a bell.
I don't
Bell.
think that can fit on the goblin's head.
No,
Hey,
but Bell's come in all sorts of sizes.
They do?
She makes
Yeah.
Belle makes a small little jingly bell and then make a sudden loud bong.
Might want to tone that down. Don't want to disturb the rest of the people. Are there more people in here? I'm gonna look around. Is there anyone else in here?
There
I'm gonna look
are
around too.
there are a few other people sitting in the place. It appears there's a man sitting in the corner who seems to be deep in his drink. He seems somewhat young, while there's a pudgy man standing behind the bar, and three people with darker, more brown skin who are sitting at a table and near the door.
All right. Quick question for the DM.
Yes.
Can I have Olivia? Can Olivia have a pack of cigarettes?
Mark off 5 copper for it, and sure.
All right.
And give yourself some fucking change. It's unrealistic for people to have all their money in gold.
Fine.
It's like
Even
like
I have some silver.
It's like if somebody was walking around
Let me give
with only $100 bills and was like, "Hi, could I have a $1 burger, please?" That's suspicious.
I kind of more related to having like 20s.
Gold is hundreds.
Hmm.
A copper is about $1. Coppers actually should be more than $1 because it's based on the medieval standard of a penny, and the medieval penny was fairly worth a lot.
So are we gonna be doing here?
Well, we were invited
Olivia.
here by one Mr. Strahd,
Who?
Strahd.
the guy who sent us the letter.
Oh,
Maybe we should ask. Maybe once we're done here, we should go around. We should go ask around, see if anybody knows this Strahd fella.
Belle walks up to the waitress after hearing that and kind of like tugs on her clothes a bit.
Yes. Hello, little
She
one.
pulls out the letter and points at Strahd's name and says, "Strahd."
She kind of looks side to side. Yes. She has like kind of an odd smile. She just kind of looks around. It's like, yeah, yes.
She says, and then turns her head quizzically.
Please repeat.
Strahd.
No, can you please repeat what you said?
Oh, she says Strahd's name again and turns her head quizzically, like a curious creature.
Yes, that is the lord of our count. A lord of the area.
She gives a nod and just walks back to the table. Lord of the area.
The
I get
waitress
it.
kind of like looks around and just kind of sighs deeply and just walks over to give another drink to the young man in the corner.
All right. I guess he must be the man in charge around here.
think he's a bear. The bears are
No.
the bears are in charge where I'm from, but they always get in scuffs with the wolves. It's actually really interesting to watch. You ever see a bear and a wolf fight?
No, I mostly tended to keep them keep them away from my livestock.
Belle looks at Deoxy and goes,
Nah. That ain't a bear. That sounds more like a boar.
No, he's probably not a bear or a wolf. I assume he is an upstanding gentleman if he is the lord of this area.
Ow. What's he want with
Why-
us?
Wonder what
I
don't know, he
do
said
they
we were
have for
interested.
summoning us.
He said we were interested
Huh.
in the letter.
Olive's just looking at her scraps before, like, going back to the conversation, just being like, so, we're interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know what's so interesting about me. I'm just a regular multicellular organism.
Bell pokes Deoxy to make him jiggle.
Yeah, they have the consistency of Jello.
Maybe you should refer to yourself as a goblin instead of multicellular organism.
Multicellular.
I am a globin.
Goblin.
Yeah,
Goblin.
a multicellular globin, and I am perfectly normal. Nothing interesting about me.
Sure. Well, I'm done with my stew.
Oh yeah, I'm done with my meat, and she spits out the bones onto her plate. They've been just floating around in her head this entire time.
Yeah, she just opens her mouth and they go bleh.
Her food was like, you know that like cartoon, you know, like food, meat on a bone. It was just that, and there's just a bone now.
Yeah.
Cartoon meat.
Bell nods in agreement as she scoops up her pet mouse.
We'll just assume the turtle follows you.
Yep, we all head out.
I follow wherever we're going.
Would any of you happen to have a light?
Like what kind?
Fire of some sort?
Bell produces
Easily-
a tinder.
Easily controllable?
Bell produces a tinder.
tinderbox.
That's what Bell produces a tinderbox. Like,
That's a little bit much for what I need, but alright.
It's just basically a mat. It's basically a set of matches.
well, flint and tinder.
It's a flint and steel with some tinder. I'll get some particularly dry looking grass off the ground and put it in the tinder box.
There is no dry grass on the ground.
Is it currently raining or is it dry out in the
As you walk out... Wait, let me change the music.
sky at the moment? What's the weather like? Tell us what the
dark and
outside
stormy
of
night?
Barovia looks like.
One sec. There we go.
I have an iron pot for some reason.
As you walk out into the street, the hard, somewhat warm and worn wood of the tavern turns to wet and slick cobblestones. A dense fog seems to be hovering over most of the town, and as you walk, you see looming shapes that you can barely recognize as the other buildings in the village.
Well, I guess the fog explains why it's so damp out.
Wait, I have an idea.
No sound seems to be pierce the fog except for the sound of sobbing from a building not too long away and a single cart that is traveling through the town.
Ooh, I know. Is there a lit lantern outside the
Wait, Olivia, I got an idea.
outside the
I,
inn?
I hold out my hand to Olivia.
What's up?
I hold out my hand.
Okay.
Can I see that thing that you're trying to light?
Oh, all right. I don't have a whole lot of these, but
All right.
I will hand Deoxy one singular cigarette.
Okay, I'm gonna use Druidcraft to light it, because reading
Just
the
the
description,
end.
I can light. All right, all right. Evens or odds?
Evens.
Right.
This is when we remember that all of Biddy's characters have a smoking problem.
She lights the correct end. She doesn't light the end that goes in the mouth. She
The filter.
she uses Druidcraft and lights the proper end and hands it back.
Thank you. And I'll
I didn't-
put the cigarette in my mouth.
So where do
Long
you all
drag
go?
and then just well, let's do a bit of exploring, I guess.
I should leave, and if we're talking about exploring unknown territories, I I believe I'm more acquainted to this task a lot more than the rest of you.
All right then.
You been here before?
No. Just more about a job description than anything, darling. I've kind of been more for like leading people away from danger and such, and being a protective shell for them. You know.
Well, you have
Yeah.
all walked into a central square-like area. It is the most open space that you can see in the whole town. There are
Wow.
houses around, as well as a slightly more store-like building that appears to be not too far away.
Does anything look interesting? That like by interesting I mean, is there anything that might catch our eye in more so than
Roll perception.
all right.
I will also roll perception.
I have pretty okay perception. That's a 15. That's
I
the
rolled-
first roll.
I rolled an 18.
Oh, we all roll in perception?
I guess if you wanna.
If you
First
want.
roll of the game. It was a 15.
7.
All
I
right,
got a
Olive.
2.
Olive.
I
Olive,
got
go
a
ahead.
rock.
One of my favorite jokes about that joke is like there's this set of dogs and they're like, I got chocolate. And it's a dog and he's allergic.
They're not actually allergic. They just can't digest it.
Yeah, but it was
No, they can digest it. It's just that one of the chemicals in the chocolate. Basically,
depends on the
I
chocolate.
believe
It's
I
kind of
believe
like
what
a-
it is that it raises their blood pressure to like fatal levels.
It
Oh.
depends on the
One of them-
chocolate. It's complicated.
One of the chemicals is basically poison to them.
I mean, every chemical is poison in the right amount.
It depends on the chocolate. It's complicated. Anyway.
It's
So-
Everything is-
theobromine.
Everything is poison if you eat enough of it.
All right. So, Deoxy, you get a glimpse of a building that is far to one side. It seems to be down a street. The fog, the mists lift for a second, and you see a larger building than anything else in town that isn't too far away. On the other hand, Olivia, you see the cart that is traveling past. It seems to be a man just dragging a cart along as he walks past through the central street of the small village.
Interesting.
The house is still within the town, right?
The building that you see that seems mildly impressive is slightly outside of town. There's a small path that seems to lead from the town to it.
Alright.
That's a strange, eerie pathway.
It is several block. It is like a block or two away. Several houses down.
Well, big house. Must be some people in there. Maybe we can ask them about stuff.
Alright. You said this this guy that we're looking for is like big, right? But not a bear?
Not a bear. But he's in charge, I guess. Maybe he lives there, I don't know.
Well, the Globins I used to watch, the leader would always be in the biggest hut.
Makes
maybe.
sense. Makes sense. Go check it out, I guess.
Alright.
I guess we'll head on over to the big house.
One second, I'm waiting for something.
Okay.
Is this like the big house on campus?
You're a campus.
Oh boy.
Silver? Ah, thanks.
Yeah. I'm still here. I was just typing.
Well, now, can you roll the thing?
What thing?
Oh, wait. There. I got 2.
Why did you roll?
Because I asked for it. Okay, so
Okay.
you walk down a long path towards a large house. As you walk by, you see a building which seems to not be boarded up, and a faint light comes from inside. You pass another building where quiet sobs fill the street, and slowly you finally walk to the end of the short street. A weary-looking mansion sits behind an iron fence. The iron gates are twisted and torn. The gate lies cast aside while the left lazily swings in the wind. The shuddering squeal and clang of the gate repeats with mindless precision. Weeds choke the grounds and press with menace upon the house itself. Yet, against the walls, the growth have been trampled down to create a path all about the domain. Heavy claw markings have stripped the once beautiful finish of the walls. Great black marks tell of the fires that have assailed the mansion. Not a pane nor a shard of glass stands in any window. All the windows are barred with planks, each one marked with the stains of omens.
Well,
Well,
let's see if it's open. I'm gonna try to open the door. I push the door open, or I try.
knock first.
Roll strength.
4.
You are unable to open the door.
Maybe it's the kind that you pull. I try pulling it.
Roll strength.
Oh, 17.
You are able to easily open the door.
Ah. I solved this terrible puzzle.
Congratulations, you've solved the door puzzle.
Yeah.
Is there anyone in there?
I don't know. I didn't check.
The interior of the mansion is well furnished, yet the figures show signs of great wear. Noticeable oddities are the boarded up windows and the presence of holy symbols hanging from every window and in every room.
Someone must be paranoid.
I like to study like some of the things on the wall.
Belle's just gonna slip in and walk right inside.
Yoxie's going to just walk inside too and probably sit on one of the furnitures.
How'd you get in here? A young woman with auburn hair walks down the stairs. I could have sworn I
Door.
barred the doors.
It was open.
Thief!
And I just point
Oh.
to it.
There are large
Oh,
and heavy
sorry.
wooden bars on the door, but it seems that they've been left ajar. Thieves! Intruders!
No.
Here.
We're new in town.
And we're new in town.
Damn it. I was holding my tongue to not make that reference.
We're gonna push him. No, sorry, ma'am. I was gonna tell her to knock, but she just opened the door. We're new in town and we don't exactly know what's where.
Well, you've made it to the mansion of the Burgomaster.
Oh shit, this Burgermeister. Oh, Burgermeister. Oh jeez. I remember my terms. That means he's like.
I love a burger right now.
I remember my terms. He's kind of like a mayor, I believe.
Well, it doesn't matter. He's dead.
Oh shit.
These things do happen.
Feller's dead already? He just invited us.
She takes her sword out and pointed at you. What did you say?
God.
I'm gonna have my hands up in front of me, like I said that some Strahd feller invited us to this place.
How dare you speak that name in here?
Is he not a cool guy? He not good?
She begins walking forward. He is the reason for my father's death.
Oh,
Oh, so he's
I apologize. I apologize
so
Yeah.
he's
for
not the
condolences.
So he's not the Burgermeister.
No. Strahd is the leader of this entire area. The Burgomaster controlled the town.
Yeah, we
Oh,
figured
okay.
he'd live in the big. We figured he'd live in the big hut.
Not the town, the country.
Oh, okay.
She slams her sword into the floorboards. You don't understand. I've been living in hell. Or I was. But he died.
Hell, or metaphorical hell?
What hell?
Since my father died, the noises haven't happened anymore. We are no longer trapped here, but no one from the town will try to help me take my father's corpse and give him a proper burial.
That's kind of like a bit conspicuous of the hometown not trying to help a passing elder. Jeez.
Oh. Y'all need help moving a corpse. Can guess we could help with that. Help him get it to a proper grave.
My father's in the next room.
What, just
All right.
in a bag, or just like sitting in a chair, or
She waves her hand at the door to the drawing room. As you walk inside, you find a roughly constructed coffin that seems to be made of old dry wood combined with the broken pieces of a fancy table.
well, I can see you worked with what you had.
Where
but
is he?
he's in the box.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, it wasn't great.
How good do the seals, like between the seams, look on the coffin?
Some are fairly tight, while others are left a good quarter of an inch gap in between them.
I use druidcraft on the wood to try and like close those gaps, like make tiny wood vines like intertwine or something.
Slurp it closed.
What are you doing?
Closing
No,
it,
no.
I assume.
She glares at you. Are you going to try something? Why are you...
Place my hand on it to try and focus my druidcraft.
Well, there was a gap in the seam. Good quarter inch, too.
She breathes heavily. Just help me take him.
Alright.
Okay.
Alright. Do you got handles on this, or am I gonna have to, like... We're gonna have to do this, like, shoulder style?
Just pick it up. She grasps one end like she's carrying a table.
Alright.
Which
I'll
essentially
pick up-
she is, because it is...
I'll pick up the
basically-
other end.
It is basically a table with more boards stuck on the sides.
I'll grab the other end.
You might have to turn it to get it out of the doorway. Yeah, you might have to turn it to a weird angle.
She just walks fine through the doors.
We'll figure it as we get to them.
Imagine like moving a couch.
Basically.
It's not hard. All of this is a mansion. All the doors are like fairly wide.
Okay.
As you walk through the front doors, you once again see the odd footprints in the grass.
Those there when we got here?
She just nods. Yes, it's
All right.
It's what we were terrorized with.
What was it?
Look for yourself. She waves a hand. I need you to roll a perception check.
All right, I rolled a 16.
All right.
I got a 19.
All right. You see a mixture of all the trampled weeds and things, and you.
I got a
see-
natural 20.
And you see a mixture of different footprints. There's two different types. Some that look like the paws of wolves, while others that look like more human. The humanoid ones seem odd, however. Some wearing only one shoe, while others seem to be dragging their feet along. She just waves a hand. Just ignore it. It's fine. It's fine. She breathes heavily. It's fine.
You got some wolves attacking y'all?
Yeah. My
Have you
father
tried talking
couldn't-
to him?
My father couldn't take the stress.
Yeah, actually, most folks can't talk to wolves.
What? They usually have such great conversation.
Yeah, well, not everybody can talk to animals.
That's weird.
Well, not everyone's a druid.
She just sighs and walks down the path. You coming?
I am. I have to. I'm holding the other end of the coffin.
Mel's gonna stick
Just
behind
drop it on.
and explore the house.
Okay.
Okay. I'm gonna go with the others. I am not gonna split the party here in Curse of Strahd.
All right. So as you walk back through the streets with the young woman, you find yourself walking back past the same areas you've been before. The building that seems to be making the only noise in the town of a woman sobbing. The small building with a light that seems to possibly be an open store. The tavern, and she guides you down another long road as you walk towards the church.
Well, makes sense. The graveyards near the church usually are.
Atop a slight rise against the roots of the pillar stone that supports... What? Atop a slight rise against the roots of a large stone stands a gray, sagging edifice of stone and wood. The church is obviously weathered and old, as if it has been forced to face evil for centuries on end. A bell tower rises towards the back. A flickering light shines through holes in the shingled roof, and the rafters strain feebly against the load. As you approach the front, the heavy wooden you see that the heavy wooden doors of the church are covered in claw marks and scarred by fire.
There's a lot of scarring on the outside of buildings. Everything all right over here?
We can just go around.
All right.
Makes sense to me.
I don't want to deal. I don't want to deal with Donovich today. Not right now.
See the priest?
Yes.
All right. Deoxy, can you get that gate?
Yeah. I try to push open the gate.
A fence of wrought iron with a rusty gate encloses a rectangular plot of land behind the dilapidated church. Tightly plaqued gravestones are shrouded by fog. They are the names of souls long past. All seems quiet. As you...
Now.
Huh?
For now.
As you walk in, you see that the graveyard is filled with stones as well as many mounds that are unmarked. She just walks to, she guides the coffin to one side and she drops it down. I'm gonna dig.
Oh, well. I can help. I got my own shovel.
She begins.
I pull out my shovel.
She begins to dig at the ground with her sword, with her hands, with scrabbling at the earth.
I'm gonna cast guidance on you, Olivia.
I have a shovel. I'm gonna start digging.
I'm going to cut back to Belle. Belle, as you walk around the mansion, you find that many of the that many of the rooms are richly appointed, even though it looks like no one has, that people stayed there for far too long. You see that that at least one of the rooms is soiled in uncomfortable manner, while the rest of the rooms are more polite.
Belle is going to enter the soiled room from curiosity.
The room smells awful. A mixture of ammonia and long left, well, sewage.
There.
You see a mixture, a foul mixture of blood and feces on the floor. The walls have been stripped of all of their, of all of the beautiful hangings that were around, and all the furniture has been pushed away and to the side, so that it would not touch what is on the floor.
Whoas.
I'm gonna take a closer look at the room and see if I can figure out why this room has been designated to be this dump
Poop room. Poop room.
Dump for lack of a better word.
It's the poop room.
Would you like to roll investigation?
Yes.
All right. Just
13.
Okay. Belle gets on her hands and knees to search through the filth of the room and try to figure out why this, of all places, was befouled to such a degree.
Soiled.
It's not like she's doing this as something new. She used to live on the streets.
As she searches, she finds hints of things, but all is lost, and she finds scraps of paper that have small bits of writing on them. However, they're too covered in disgusting things that she cannot read them.
Can I try and clean them to make them a little more legible?
Roll perception.
Perception. 17.
You get a... Sorry. You get a, you finally, while you're searching, you finally find a leather-bound journal that has been set to the side. Most of its pages have been ripped out. It seems these are the scraps of paper that have been used in such a way. When you look and flip through the pages of the book, you find that they tell a story. They tell that Strahd is looking for Irina, the young woman that you met. And
You're cutting out there.
no, I paused because I'm trying to think of what to say.
Your thing kept flickering on and off, so I thought you were having mic trouble.
The story seems to say that he found Irina when she was younger, and that he doesn't understand why Strahd is so interested in her. The fact that he has defied Strahd has caused all of the problems leading up to what took him what took his life. You find a small object in And you find a small object in the last bit of the thing.
What is it?
What is the thing called?
Journal?
Yeah. You find a small object in the end of the journal.
I take it out and inspect it.
Roll a D100 for me, please.
$55.
Jiggity schwa.
The item is a small black wooden die, with each side of which is painted, pitted and painted with a single golden pip. It only has ones.
She makes a noise of interest before pocketing the die.
Alright, you can write that on your character sheet. Back to the church.
I did cast guidance on Olivia to help with the digging.
A young man.
That means when you roll.
An older man walks out as he watches you dig. Hello.
Well, out of there.
He's wearing black robes and a white scarf.
Hello there. You must be the priest.
Yes, I am Father Donovich. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well. I'm
My
still
name's
digging.
Deoxy. I'm just a humble goblin. Just helping out some new friends.
Yes, I see. Well, I am glad that you have taken the propriety to bring Colin's body to be buried.
Well, no sense leaving him inside a mansion to rot.
Burgomaster.
Yeah, that's such a waste.
Burgomaster Indirovich must have his body laid to rest.
Yeah, it'd be such a waste to let it just rotting there. Now here I can feed the worms and continue the cycle of life.
Yeah.
He nods. Allow me to say a few words.
Alright.
He walks over the body and he holds a holy symbol around his neck and he places his hand over the grave and he just mumbles some words. Lay to rest this body so that it may never rise and may stay within its place. His hand seems to be glowing with a soft pale light. Let it never be said that the church allows for the dead to be used for such foul mannerisms and musings. Please let this body stay the way it is. So says the Raven Queen. He opens his eyes. All right. I suppose you have helped the young dear Irina. She nods and just sits exhausted and crying to herself on a stone that is near her father's grave.
I shall wipe the sweat from my brow as I pile the dirt over the grave. Make sure and pack it down real good.
I'm gonna use Druidcraft to spawn a few flowers on the grave. I take requests if Did you want anything particular made?
Donovich just shakes his head. Listen. If you... I will try to take young Irina into my care, but if you think that you can help, it would be best that she be taken away from Castle Ravenloft. Away from Lord Strahd von Zarovich.
Who?
Oh, while you brought up the man, me and her and a couple others, we all got a letter from him.
That's not the best. What was it about?
He said we were interested and that he wanted to invite us here.
I see. I suppose that's why I've not seen most of your faces before. He leaves he leaves a small, leaning glance at Olivia. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. We need.
Well,
Irina
just
needs to go to the Abbey of Saint Markovia in Krezek, but I don't know whether I can trust you.
I mean, that is
Really
very
put
true.
in my care.
I mean, that's very true. You don't really have a reason to trust us,
You
but
don't have a reason to distrust us either.
You were invited to this land and this town by the man that is terrorizing her. Tell me I don't have a reason to distrust you.
so we don't even know the man.
Where?
Triangles.
I'm just from a farm back in Faerun.
Thanks.
If you find a reason to make me trust you, I will entrust her life into your hands. Until then, goodbye. He just sighs and he lightly wraps his arms around her and guides her into the church. Inside, you hear loud thumping sounds from beneath the floorboards.
Is he like inside now, or?
Yeah, he's gone.
Okay, so it's just me, Deoxy, and Olive just standing in a graveyard.
Yep.
Well, we should probably head back to the Burgermeister's mansion. I think we left Belle back
There's
there.
nothing left there. Who?
The Kenku? The bird person?
Ooh.
Bird person.
Yeah.
I think they stayed behind.
Well, that's a bit rude, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How rude of her not to come with us.
Yeah. They have no idea how heavy that box was.
I like to imagine Deoxy tried to help, but Deoxy, being too short, could not reach. And just...
Yeah, no, Deoxy was basically hanging from it.
Adding to the weight instead of helping lift it.
Yeah, an extra 50 pounds.
Deoxy tried to reach, he kept jumping.
They accidentally drop it on Deoxy, she goes splat, but reforms. Alright.
Well, let's
Yeah, let's go
head back
pick
there.
up the that person.
Yeah.
And let's see what else this town has to offer. I've never actually been in a town before. There's so many people. And the
There's-
hut's just so big.
Well, they're called houses.
What Okay,
The
I'm sorry.
huts.
There's so many houses and the hut's so big.
All right, I'm gonna pat Deoxy on her gooey head.
There's a thin membrane, like when you leave Jello out for like
Yeah, it
an
gets a little
hour.
dry on top.
Mhm.
It's like a Jello skin.
Yeah,
As you
that's
walk
pretty
through
much.
the town, you once more hear the sobs of the woman in the house, and you see the lights of the only stores that you can see open, the tavern and the other one.
The sobs sound like the exact same, like they're on loop.
A little bit.
Well, that's weird.
Huh.
Well, where I'm from, I hear a lot of noises, but none of them ever sound the exact same.
Well, let's get Belle first, and then we'll check that out.
All right. Guess it could be a mockingbird or something.
Could be. Could be. Maybe there's another Kenku in there.
Maybe.
They're the type to make similar noises.
Alright, you go and walk.
We're going back to the Burgermeister mansion.
Yeah.
You go and walk up to the Burgermeister mansion.
Great.
You
Are
see
you
Belle
sleepy?
coming out. You see Belle coming out, whose feathers are covered in filth.
She kind of preens herself a bit and shakes.
Gross.
What happened to you?
She produces the journal.
Oh wow.
Belle, did
Was
you
that
go-
leather?
Did you go around snooping in their house?
No shame, she just nods.
Well, I guess nobody lives there anymore since priest man took her into his care.
Yeah.
Would I remember anything about the priest in the journal?
What was the priest's name again?
Donovich.
Yeah, now that Father Donovich has taken her in, I guess this house is empty now.
Whose father was he?
Oh, it's just a title.
Oh.
It means he's a priest.
Oh.
You don't know what a priest is, do you?
No, I actually do. The Globins had a high priestess that ruled them. Yeah.
Well, this kind of priest isn't very much in a ruling position.
Oh.
More of a respected position. He's a man of God, as one would say.
Which god?
I don't know. I didn't see his. I didn't get a good look at his holy symbol, but you know, he worships and preaches about one specific god, I assume,
Alright.
of which the church is based around. This has been Olivia Explains Monotheism.
Yeah. To someone who is literally experiencing the world for the first time. Well, now that we got our
Well-
fourth, why don't we go check out that mockingbird?
Sure. Belle, did you find anything else while you were in there?
Did I find anything other than that journal and the die?
No.
She shakes her head.
You found
All
the
right
die.
then.
She's not pulling out the die. She's not mentioning it.
Yeah, I figured.
All
Not that she
right,
could in
then.
the first place.
Well, let's head over to that sobbing woman.
When we get close enough to hear the sobbing, I do actually want to like wait a bit to see if it does loop.
Just seems to be general sobbing.
I'll give the door a knock.
A moaning sob fills through the steel gray streets, coloring your thoughts with sadness. The sounds flow from a dark two-story townhouse.
Well then.
Knock knock.
The doors, the windows are boarded up. You hear nothing, no change from inside.
Can we try the handle? Is it locked?
I'll try the
door
handle.
is not locked. However, when you open it, you find that you can't open the door all the way. There's something on the other side.
How far can you open it?
About an inch.
That's perfect. I, being a plasmoid, can slip through inch gaps that are an inch wide. I'm gonna double check. Just the traits, ritual traits, blah blah blah. Amorphous. Amorphous.
Yep, as narrow as 1 inch.
Yep, as narrow as 1 inch. So I slip out of the neck of my leather armor and am completely nude without any of my items. But I am a blob in the shape of a goblin, and I just slip through the inch.
On the other side of the door, you see that there's a pile of furniture barricading the door.
Can I push it out of the way?
Yeah.
You can try with your weak little arms.
I do have weak little arms.
Roll
All right,
five.
what would that be? Strength? Okay. 6.
You are unable to move the objects.
All right. There's stuff here that's a bit heavy.
Try guidancing yourself. Give yourself a
You
little
know what?
guidance.
That is a fantastic idea. I'm gonna guidance myself and try again.
Alright.
Can I guidance myself? I'm gonna double check.
Yeah,
I'm
you
pretty
can.
sure I can.
It's
Yeah.
target. It doesn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't specifically exclude you.
Yeah, one real willing creature. I am willing. So yeah, I'm gonna try again with
Creature.
guidance. With
Okay.
guidance. So that's 17 plus 3. That is a dirty 20.
Alright, you're able to easily move the barricade out of the door.
It's all good.
All right. I open the door the rest of the way. Now, come on out and get your clothes back on.
I just slip back into my clothes without having to, like, I slip in through the neck. Like, basically turn into a blob, enter the clothes, and just, like, fill out.
You glorp into it.
Exactly. That is an unseen, benefit of the amorphous feat, is I don't have to spend 10 minutes getting into armor.
Yep. You just immediately can get in and out.
Yeah. Technically, I don't even have to go through the neck. I could go through the arm. Hell, I could put my face on my arm if I wanted.
Go through the butt.
Well, there needs to be a hole for me to exit.
Depends.
Alright.
Armor might have a flap. I bet goblin armor has flaps.
Maybe.
So I'm reading the stuff on Plasmoid. I like that you have like a 10-foot reach, basically connected mage hand.
Yeah.
10 pounds, can't attack or activate shit.
Yeah, it's basically a sticky hand.
Anyway, as you walk inside, you see the one person that's inside sobbing, a woman sitting in the middle of the room.
Oh, okay, there's actually someone in here. Now I feel very awkward.
In my defense, I didn't see her in the dark because until the lad of outside came into the room.
Not particularly light out. Hello, miss? Are you okay?
She seems to be rocking back and forth, just muttering and sobbing.
I don't think she's okay.
I'm gonna put a hand on her shoulder. There.
Hello?
Hello?
Hi. Who are you?
Oh, my name's Livia. I'm new in town. I'm sorry for basically breaking in. But
Break anything?
It's fine.
are you okay, ma'am?
No. I'm not.
Is what seems to be the problem, miss?
My daughter. She broke
Your
out.
daughter? Broke out?
Yeah, I've kept her in here for her entire life. Now she decides to break out of the house, and I haven't seen her in a week.
Where does she break out from?
Her room. It doesn't
Well, where's her
matter.
room?
Well, if you can tell us what she looks like, we'll let you know if we see her.
She.
You know,
She
quick,
just clutches the doll that's in her hands closely. She.
I mean, I understand if she's not exactly human. I am half orc after all.
I've never seen a human until today.
You can
Josh, you-
certainly help yourself. You can certainly help your daughter.
She's just a teenager.
Makes a lot more sense, though. It is very precarious that they're gone for so long. I can
Does
understand the need
she,
to worry.
Gertrude has been gone for a week.
Gertrude,
Belle
you
walks-
said?
Gertruda.
Gertruda, okay.
we'll ask around. We gotta get in good standing with some people so the priest guy likes us. So we'll
Belle
do our.
walks up.
We'll try to help.
She just
Belle walks
hugs
up to the
her-
woman and
her
pats
doll.
her knee.
She just
Then pats her.
fondles her doll.
I
She
offer
says
her-
in a soft, like quite sweet voice, "It'll be okay."
"You want a good berry?"
What's the priest's name again? I can't remember.
Donovan.
Donovich.
Donovan.
Donovich.
She just starts sobbing and stops responding to you.
I just hand her a good berry. Just place it in her hand and step away.
Well,
Holds it close to her doll.
You might want to eat that. It's got about like 3 hours left on it.
She just keeps rocking back and forth, sobbing.
I'm
Alright.
sure she'll eat it later.
All right.
Okay, goodbye, miss. I'll just close the door behind me.
All right. Once we're outside, I say she probably shouldn't eat it later. Once it wears off, it turns back into mistletoe. And things don't like eating mistletoe. Mistletoe berries.
Bleh.
It
Well, they're
makes you
not.
die sometimes.
Oh, they're not like mistletoe. Isn't like extremely poisonous.
I mean, I like eating raw mistletoe.
Well, I guess it really depends on what the variety of mistletoe is.
Yeah. Well,
It really depends on the variety, but you know,
yeah.
they're not typically one berry will kill you level of toxic, but might give her a little upset stomach.
Belle
Yeah.
walks out to the streets, and would Belle know where that store-like place was?
It's right next door.
Or, oh, Belle will enter.
Alright, give me just a sec.
Stop splitting the party, you fool.
Right next
Yeah,
door.
I mean, it's still the second time you split the party in Curse of Strahd. At this rate, I am
Sparse
gonna
light
win
from
the
this
bet.
building spills out from behind drawn heavy curtains. The sign over the door, creaking on its hinges, reads, Bill Drift's Mercantile. As you walk inside, you see a male human standing behind the counter. Hello.
Belle walks up to the counter and kind of like climbs up a bit so her face is visible because she might be just shorter than the ground. What was that woman's daughter's name again?
Gertruda.
She says in that woman's voice, Gertruda?
What? I don't know who you're talking about. Is that your name?
She shakes her head and produces a bell and then points at it and then to herself.
Alright, jingle. Got it.
She shakes her head again.
Look, either try to buy something or get out.
Might as well take a look around. What's the store got?
The store has a lot of arrows and other things, even things like crystal, like a crystal or a orb.
Ah,
Several-
finally, we can ponder.
Several holy symbols hang in the window, while a large amount of other things are sitting on various shelves. An abacus, an oddly shaped bag of something, crowbar. Many items are sitting around.
Take a look in that bag.
I will enter the store.
The bag seems to contain ball bearings.
Yeah, I already got a bag of ball bearings.
I am now inside of the store.
As you walk in, is this thing with you?
What?
This creature, woman, whatever, is she with you?
Yes, Belle is with me.
Are you gonna buy anything? 'Cause I'm trying to run a business here, and while the locals don't like to buy anything, I don't think that loitering is the best policy.
Oh no, that's understandable. Considering I've seen several boarded up buildings and many of them have holy symbols, I'm gonna assume this town has a level of paranoia to it.
We're overseen by Castle Ravenloft.
I'm new
I
in town. I
have
don't
no
exactly know
idea
what that
what-
means.
Why do you think? Oh, you're new in town. That's wonderful. I've seen you before.
You have? I don't remember you or this place really.
You've been here before.
Have I?
Lots of times.
I don't remember that.
Good customer.
Last time, remember, I'm a farm. I'm assuming y'all sell silver items.
I'm looking up. No, they do not.
Oh. Alright then.
Does he have crossbows?
Yes. No.
Would he have a hand? No?
No, he doesn't have any crossbows. He does have crossbow bolts.
I'm gonna walk in. Is there any like jerky or dried meats?
No, it seems to all be gear.
Okay.
No rations then?
It doesn't look like rations is on the list.
That's rough.
Well.
It's only things that are in adventuring gear. That's what the thing says. I could give him weapons too, but I find it
What
funnier
about
for him not to sell weapons.
What about sling ammo?
There is sling ammo, yes.
I mean, couldn't you just use the ball bearing bag as sling ammo?
You can't just use a ball bearing for a sling.
You want sling ammo?
They're part. Yeah, sling
You
ammo.
want sling
Ball
ammo?
bearings are too small.
Alright. Alright, here you go. He puts a small bag. 20 bullets for your sling. 4 silver.
All right. Okay. And I place down a gold.
He shrugs and just takes out more ball bearings. I mean, not ball bearings, more sling bullets, and just hands you what looks like. He hands you 2.5 bags of sling ammo.
Don't mind her, she doesn't know money.
So how much I got? Did I get 40 or 60?
50.
50? All right.
The items here are overpriced.
Okay.
That's not a mistake on my account. That is the lore.
How much would 10 pieces of chalk be?
Chalk?
Does he sell chalk?
It's an adventuring item.
Yeah, but so
One
is a
piece of-
crossbow.
1 piece of chalk is a silver. 10 pieces, a gold.
Oh, okay then. You have any spare javelins? Feel like I'd give myself another couple.
I'm sorry. I don't sell weapons here.
Okay, just gear and ammo.
Quick question: do you perhaps maybe have a map of the land or anything that could assist in that?
Map could be helpful.
I do have a map. However,
No.
it's gonna cost you a lot.
How come, sir?
Well, you see, maps aren't super reliable. I have the best map that I can make, and I'll sell it to you for 20 gold.
Woo!
You'll even get this beautiful map case for free. Normally that'd be 10 gold.
I believe Olive would like to roll insight on him.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I want to roll inside as well. I got 14.
I got a 9, unfortunately.
I should have guidance. Oh well.
Mm,
He just shrugs. I got what I got.
Well, if we all pull together some of our funds, we could get it without it hitting us too hard.
You want it badly
mm,
enough, you'll pay for it.
uh, I mean, getting a map right now would definitely be helpful in an unknown location such as this.
Hey,
I'm
Chalky,
gonna I'm gonna assume
Yes?
it's more than just the local areas.
I'd like to roll stealth.
Alright, go ahead.
That's a natural one. Dang it.
Well, describe what you were trying to do.
She wanted to try and get, like, into the guy's blind spot, essentially.
As as you walk into the blind spot, he turns at you suddenly. What do you want? Periwimple! He snaps and he calls a man from the back. The man seems to be a large, thick-headed, muscled-looking man.
She points at the chalk.
I don't think they like you.
The man walks over to you. What want?
She points at the chalk.
Why try to hurt? Bad bird. Bad bird.
She shakes her head and
Chalk gold. Think.
He did say it was a gold for 10.
she hands over a
Buy or
gold.
go.
She hands over a gold.
The muscly man grabs the gold and walks back to stand behind the other man. Yes, so I believe you were just leaving.
Oh, I do have a question about the map.
Yes.
I'm assuming it's more of a more than just the town. I assume it's the
Like
You
I
know.
said, best map that I can provide. 20 gold. You get a free map case. That's a 10 gold deal.
we'll come back on that. We'll come back on that. I don't think this will be our last time in here, so
He just nods. If you want it badly enough, you'll pay for it. Periwimple,
anyway.
show them out. The large human male pushes you all out of the door and onto the street. You find yourself next to a cart that seems to be walking. Seems to be driving past.
All right. Well, how do we get more gold for the map then?
Jerk.
Well,
Right.
well,
Maybe we could, even though this town is not really the most inviting type, maybe we might be able to elicit some services to the townsfolk. You know, maybe try to learn the lay of the land a bit on our
All
own.
right. Yeah, we could probably ask the people then. I look right at the cart that's right in front of us. What kind of cart is it?
It's a man pulling a two-wheeled cart that
So,
seems to
kind
be
of a rickshaw.
filled.
Okay.
It's a wooden cart. It seems to be filled with something.
Excuse me, sir. How do we get
Yes.
gold? Is there any work or anything?
You want gold?
Yeah?
ain't no gold around here, sweetie. You'd have to
Okay.
find it in one of the abandoned shops. But all the shops have been searched for years.
Are there any that haven't?
There's only one place that you might be able to find gold. The old house.
I don't think we've met a house that was old. Yeah.
Houses are the buildings, Deoxy.
Oh. Thought you said they were the people.
No.
Okay. Alright. Can you point
Well-
us in that direction?
Yes, of course. He just follow me. He walks down the street.
As we walk, I whisper to Olivia, I made a friend.
Congratulations.
Would any of you like to roll perception to see inside the cart?
I'll roll
Yeah,
perception.
okay.
I will roll perception as well.
You got
I
a
don't roll
9.
too well.
19.
Hold on. Perception roll.
I rolled
My
a
guess. My
19 as well.
I rolled a 4.
My guess is food.
Bodies.
As you look inside,
Yeah. That's what I said.
Food.
as you look inside the cart, half and half, it seems to be filled entirely. It seems half to be entirely filled with cabbages, and the other half to be filled with several corpses.
Huh, we were
Can
both
I
right.
try and let's see. Could I try and pick the pocket of the corpses?
You have to
Probably
get
pick-
in there.
They're probably picked clean anyways.
Yeah. True.
When you get to the end of the town, he gestures at a building that seems to be slightly taller than all the other ones.
Alright.
Even taller than the Burgermeister's house.
The Burgermeister's house was 3 stories tall. This is also 3 stories. It's thinner.
It's 3 stories, but a little taller.
Probably more room in the roof.
It probably has a weather vane that makes it like an inch taller.
Well, I guess this is the place.
Let's go in. Waltz right up to the door and try to push it open.
Hmm.
Okay, then. Very direct, that one.
Very direct.
The man
Well, he
laughs.
said it was abandoned.
Ah! Good luck. He leaves away from
See,
the
he's
town
wishing us luck.
with his cabbages and his dead bodies.
It was
Everyone
sarcasm.
here is so nice.
It was sarcasm.
What's sarcasm?
Ah, well.
Alright. I try to push the door open.
One sec. A wrought iron gate with hinges on one side and a lock on the other fills the archway of the stone portico. The gate is unlocked and its rusty hinges shriek when it's opened. Oil lamps hang from the portico ceilings by chains, flanking a set of open doors that open into a grand foyer.
Oh.
Hanging on the south of the foyer is a shield emblazoned with a coat of arms, a stylized golden windmill on a red field, flanked by portraits of stony-faced aristocrats. Mahogany-framed double doors lead from the foyer, and are set with panes of stained glass.
Well, good news is that it still has its windows.
This is a really nice wood. I say, feeling one of the doors. Very sturdy. Don't get anything like this back in the forest.
Well, let's head on in, I guess. I'll open up the door.
All right.
You have a map for us? Because that's the great thing about working with official modules is that they come with maps.
Yeah, they're not, but they're maps that are made for like
Combat.
combat. They're not gonna be good for you to navigate with. They're not gonna help you much.
Yeah, but it's good to know the layout at least.
Yeah, but I can just describe the layout a lot better than you can understand with the little part of the map that I'm going to show you, because I'm not going to show you rooms you haven't been in. Also, I can't copy the image.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like, it won't go to the clipboard.
Ah, well.
Yeah.
You could
So,
use
yeah.
you could use Shift Window S to just snag a screenshot.
I use light shot. But yeah, we enter the foyer.
Foyer.
No, it's not working.
Oh, rip. Oh well, we'll figure it out next time.
And
Yeah.
I think we'll leave the game there for the night. With our people finally arriving at the adventure that was meant to be the setup all along. Would you like to say some words before we go?
Check out some of the other videos on the channel. First off, I do want to say I am having a lot of fun with Curse of Strahd. I have been excited to play this for a long time. And also check out some of the other videos on the channel. We got Link's Awakening. We have It Takes Two, and we have another D&D campaign, World of Tapir. I am excited for the next session of Strahd.